So kind of ironic that one of my talks today is, needing a flight crew. And having been in the corporate world for a while, my last executive position was at Reuters, and I was head of all facilities for North and South America. I had 300 people working for me, and I was all over the place. So they moved that position to New York, and I decided, I'm not going. So I set out kind of on my own to do consulting. And it didn't take long for me to decide that, I'm kind of in that hunt-kill. So anybody that's a sole proprietor understands the hunt-kill. If you're hunting, that means you're marketing, you're not making money. If you're killing, you're delivering, and you're not marketing. So, okay, I finished that, now what do? I got to market again. And so there was this endless cycle. And even today, I hear a lot of business owners tell me that I want to join a team. I want to have a team of people. I want to have a flight crew that works with me. So I set out to find an opportunity to bring in some partners to join my team and to grow a business where I could make money at night. That was really kind of my vision. How can I make money at night? So I set out to do that with a couple of business partners. And one of the things I want to share with you today is, don't try to do it all yourself. And get the right people on the bus with you to help you move forward with your ideas and your vision. And empower them, give them the tools they need to do their job, and then get out of the way and trust in them. So these are my 3 points that I want to share with you as I go about my presentation today. So my partners that I joined with were Jared Pino, whom many of you probably know, and Steve Brown, whom many of you probably don't know. But I approached Steve one day as I was working in a consulting gig for another technology company, and I said, "Steve, you ever thought about starting your own business?" And he said, "Just about every day." I said, "Well, then we need to get together and talk about this, because I think with your skill set of technology and mine with all the other things I've done, maybe we could join ranks and start our own business." And Jared overheard us talking and said, Hey, well, I heard you guys speaking. Whatever you're doing, I'm in. So you better just count on me, or the jig is up here. I'm gonna tell them." So the three of us set out on our own to start our business. It was in 2009, and 5 years later, we were celebrating because of a lot of people that joined us on our bus to create our flight crew as we move forward, helped us grow. And it wasn't just our own employees, it was the community in general. So it all began with giving back. And this next individual is my main giver. This is my mother. She's 94 years old. This is where I learned my skill sets from. She was the newcomer hostess in the town of Galesburg, Illinois. So in her time, she probably visited one-on-one with about 1,700 to 2,000 people that moved to Galesburg. And I learned all my traits from her about giving, about helping, about meeting people, about networking, being extroverted. And this is the woman I give credit to for helping me out. So within the community, they were very active, and therefore I became very active in the community. And the thing that I want to point out to you is in having your flight crew and having employees on board, getting the right people on the bus with you, it's not just your employees, it's the community in general that will help you. This, to me, is a community of people that are on your ship, that are on your bus, that are part of your flight crew that's going to help your organization grow. And I want to point that out, that E4E is a great community to be involved with. I'll also give a plug to my business development team that many of you participate in that. Another great venue, another great community of people helping out. Mark's got a great function coming up tomorrow, a community of people that are coming together to help network. So don't just think you have to fly alone. You can move forward faster with help of your employees, help of your community. So getting the right people on the bus begins with a plan. And Bill mentioned it earlier when I talked about staffing to the organization, how our staffing business is growing. He said, you had a vision of that a long time ago. You're a very patient person. Yes, I am. But it all begins with a vision. You've got to know where you're going. And people are attracted to those that have a vision, that have an understanding, that have a strategic plan. And I actually was paid tens of thousands of dollars to do strategic planning for some of the largest companies in the world. So when I started my company, I took my strategic plan into the bank, and they said, oh my gosh, Canada, I've never seen anything this elaborate for a small business like yours, but I believe in what you're doing. You've got this well laid out. So within this strategic planning, there are certain bullets that I wanted to share, and there's really 4 that we count on as our critical success factors. They are market penetration, customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and finance for our company. Those are the 4. Everything we do revolves around those 4 critical success factors. So my encouragement to you is to begin with having a strategic plan, a vision of where you want to go. And there was a person that approached me recently about a workshop that was how to clear out the clutter. I think it was Barry. How to clear out the clutter. In my mind, it's very simple. If you have a strategic plan and you know where you're going, you won't have clutter in your life. Everything you do will be directed towards that strategic plan. So getting the right people on the bus that believe in that plan with you is so very important, and you'll be able to move forward. I also think that having the right leadership and understanding what leadership is about is very important. So back in the 1980s, I wrote a leadership page. I think it might be out on our website, but if you don't find it out there and you want my detailed version of good leadership philosophy, I'm happy to share it with you. But these are the major attributes behind it. And one of the things that I want to point out is having a sense of humor. To me, extremely important as a leader to diffuse conflict in life and issues that are in life through a sense of humor. And I like to use Reagan as an example, as a great leader who had a sense of humor, really believed in him. He really opened up through that, and you really trusted him. Many did anyway, maybe not all of you, but I thought he was a great leader of our country, and he did it with a sense of humor. Being a change master is also important. You've got to understand the change, being a thinker, having a strategic plan. Anyway, I won't go through all of these. One of the more important ones is using power wisely. And that is knowing that as a leader, you can affect people's lives. I like to try to affect them in the positive rather than the negative. So use your power wisely. Don't threaten people just because you have the ability to do so. Use it wisely to build them up, and you will build up trust in doing so. Empowerment is also a key. So strategic planning is a key. Empowering the people is very much a key. And that's allowing your employees to really make a mistake. Now, John Deere was a sluggish company back in the 80s, and they really frowned upon people making mistakes. They called them out, they belittled them, and as a result, John Deere was so sluggish, they almost were sold off like International Harvester. But they turned it around. American Airlines, a little faster. Reuters, very quick environment, very accepting of mistakes. And my belief is, if you're making a mistake, you're doing your job. You're out there doing things. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything. So I prefer to work with people that make mistakes, because that just tells me they're trying, they're out there, or they're engaged, they're wanting to do something. Now, if you make that mistake 2 and 3 times, then we got a little issue to deal with. But people need to understand they can make mistakes. It helps empowerment flourish. Trust is also important within an environment of getting the right people on the crew with you. Trust in the workplace. This is a great little quote from Jack Gibb. I'm not going to stand up here and read it, but if you begin with trusting the people that are on the plane with you, your flight crew, they will in turn trust you. Really, that's what I want you to get from this slide. It all begins with you as a leader trusting in them first and empowering them to do their jobs and okaying them when they make a mistake and supporting them. It all helps build trust within the workplace. So Jack also had a little theory called the Tory theory. And the T kind of was trusting me, being who I am, and recognizing that everybody is a little bit different. Everybody has something to contribute. So it's important that you recognize all of that. I coached basketball in the middle school grades, and I always was 9-1 for about 4 or 5 years in a row. My last class that I had, 5 of them made the Lafayette High School basketball team. And it wasn't that they were fantastic players, it was the fact that I found out what their skill was and applied it to that game. One guy's a great rebounder. Dennis Rodman, I called him. Another one was a good shooter. Another one great on defense. So it's a matter of finding the skills of your employees and using them so they become successful. Put them in a position where they can be successful. Opening and showing, revealing yourself, being realistic, showing that you can make mistakes yourself. And in doing that, then they will trust you more. Just being out there and saying, geez, I made a mistake, I'm so sorry. Hey, even I can make mistakes. That's so important. Realizing and doing what I want means stepping outside of the box, being creative, doing something different, encouraging them to look beyond what is just the norm. And then the last is being with you. And I'd like to use the example of sororities and fraternities. I've taught my kids and encouraged them to join a fraternity or sorority. How many were members of a fraternity in college or sorority? Okay. So then you kind of get what I'm saying, because you're living with a whole bunch of different personalities out there. And my coaching to them was, get involved with that group, understand that there are different personalities. You will be successful in life because of that. So it was a great takeaway for them. All right, that's the Tory. Without trust in the workplace, there's a lack of unity, and there's correction. There's always demeaning going on. There's always, plans of correction. So developing trust in the workplace is very important. I know I'm running short on time here, so I want to use the example of Ritz-Carlton, which is an example of empowerment of the employees. I think most of you have probably been there. Their target is high quality customer service. They allow the employees to make decisions without having to go to their management all the time. So if you can develop a culture within your organization where you empower the people to make decisions, then you'll be successful. So all right, here's kind of what we talked about with the flight crew. Not only the flight crew internal, but your community flight crew, which is what we all are here. So don't try to do it all yourself. Get the right people on the bus, empower them. And what I've said to you was having a strategic plan and the vision, empowering the people, providing them the tools to do their job, and then stepping out of the way, and building that level of trust. And you'll have a very successful organization going forward. Questions?
I'm ready to run.
Surely we got something. Look at him go. Look at him go. Wow.
Naturally, it's you have to run all the way across the
you
room,
trusted
right?
him with that microphone.
Yeah.
I love it, Glenda.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was good.
yeah.
Give him the tools.
Jim, I know that you are very proactive in terms of letting your employees know what your strategic vision is. How do you go about doing that? How do you keep that strategic vision in front of your employees?
Well, there's regular communication that I have with them. We have the high-level strategic plan, and then we have a more broken down one. And everything we do is checked off. You know, we have plans of, in finance, in market, this. So we discuss those a great deal. And every Friday on a phone call with the staff, even though we're not all in the same office, we're kind of virtual, so we're all spread out all over. We have a Friday phone call. And that's one of the things we go through so that they know that we're checking the boxes on our high-level plan, and it all feeds into our strategic plan and everything we do. Yeah.
Jim, thanks for that good information on building a flight crew. In your time of figuring this out, was there any major mistake you made that you figured out, oh, I can't do that anymore?
Oh, I always made mistakes, obviously. Yeah. So sometimes you don't have the right person on the right, that doesn't see the vision that you do. You trusted them for a while, and all of a sudden they're not getting it with you. So don't be afraid to ask one of your crew members to step aside and step off the bus, so to speak, if they aren't getting it. And so that's really important. So sometimes I take a little too long because I really want them to be successful, and I look at myself and say, why did this fail? What did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? Did I do everything I could have to help that person be successful? And if they're not, then you've got to move them aside and move on.
Jim, this term empowerment and engagement, it's been flying around for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of different people have different ideas about what it is, how to do it. Can you give us some very practical kinds of processes and tools that you use to operationalize that principle?
Oh, good question, Les. A lot of it to me is feeling. It's how do they feel? Do they feel comfortable in an environment? I mean, the process to me would be how I approach them, how I communicate with them, how I deal with them. One example I will give that comes to mind is actually this presentation. So what I have done, and what I would encourage all of you to do, would be if you ask somebody to create something or write something, don't destroy it and edit and redline it. In several companies that I've been in, I would write things and take it into the person that's the decision maker, and they would redline it and change it all. How did that make me feel? So what I believed in was, okay, if I felt that way, I don't want to have the person that's doing something for me feel that way. And I got to the point with that same individual, I actually took things that he had written and rewrote it as if it was mine, and took it in, and he redlined his own stuff. So I said, okay, it's not me. I'm not going to take this personal now, because you are clearly an idiot. But back to my example, I just want to say, Cynthia helped me with these slides in this presentation. I kind of gave her the direction of what I wanted. She put it together, and I just make very few changes to what she does because she's a great communication architect. And that's my way of saying, Cynthia, I trust you. I believe you've got the right ideas in what you're helping me put together here. So that's just one example.
Jim, I think as an entrepreneur, the hardest thing we have to do is learn to accept 85%.
Yeah.
Do you have a vetting process before you get them on the bus?
Oh, man. That 85% reminds me of Reuters at a time when you've got a great number of people working for you, and I'm sure it's the same for you because you have a lot of decisions that you need to make to keep your business running. And I've tried to teach my employees that as a leader, I have to make decisions based on what I know and what I'm getting. And I'm not going to have 100% information, because if you wait for 100% of the information to make a decision, you'll never move forward. So in the quick pace that Reuters was, we had to make decisions with 85% of the information. So to answer your question, are you vetting the information coming in? Yeah, constantly you're doing that in a variety of areas because you're getting hit from all sides. And you try to stay focused and keep the clutter out around that particular topic. I don't know if that answers your question, but the main point that I want to make is, as a leader, you got to make decisions with 75, 80, 85% of the information, or you will never make a decision. Oh, out of time. One more?
I was really just going to pile on yours and help Jim because he's a friend. One thing that changed in my business, what Jim was saying, was I actually wrote down the decisions that they could make. So nobody really took the time to say, Bill, you can make these decisions. And by taking a step back, and I'd love to say that I remember what book I read that from, but I don't. But that was one of the things that made a dramatic business, and that's, I believe, what he does and how much he's grown so much is by letting that slack out, but also letting them know what they make decisions on. Because I don't want to make every decision. I got to tell you, that's not my plan. I don't
Yeah.
believe that's Jim's plan either.
Yeah.
So some people have, and other people, that might not be their plan. Whatever plan's fine. But when I went through that with our 18 employees, it was like this. Okay, cool. And you would have thought I've communicated that, but until I had it in writing with them and had a one-on-one with them, it really changed our business. So hopefully that'll
Yeah,
help.
great, Chris. Thank you. I just want to end with a comment that I want the people on my bus to think like owners. I want them to think like an owner and act like an owner. And in doing so, you will really develop trust and collaboration with your team. So, thank you all very much for the opportunity.